men's fashion is dead. Or at least that's what we would think when we think about the fact that Men's Fashion Week comes up every 6 months, and it feels like we see the same stuff every time. It's not completely the same stuff. Yeah, you're right if you think they look similar to what we've seen 6 months ago, but actually there are changes and shifts and tendencies, and it's actually pretty interesting in what direction men's fashion is going, and I really loved this season, spring summer 2026. I feel like we saw tiny trends and developments that can really help you if you feel kind of lost with your personal style, what to try out, because these are things that can fundamentally stay in your personal wardrobe and be depictions of your beautiful personality and turn into amazing items you will keep forever. So I picked out 10 things that I've seen on the menswear runways that I find interesting, where I think you can easily style it and you don't have to purchase a new item. You can purchase new items because they're tiny products. There are a few products that are interesting and you would probably, get that cash out, put it on the table to change it, okay? Sometimes styling is just a tool. Sometimes you also need a new item. So I'm going to talk about these today. I love Men's Fashion Week. June is my favorite time for Fashion Week. The weather is good, the people are good, the fashion is kind of good. It's more chill, it's more, it's more relaxed. September is scary. September Fashion Week is scary, but we're not talking about September Fashion Week. We're talking about June and men's. So we're going to start with the first trend, which is more of a styling trend. But also before I start getting into this video, I have to, of course, give you the disclaimer. If you do enjoy these videos and want to see more videos, I just uploaded a Fashion Week vlog on my Patreon right now. You should join the Patreon, where you can also have the crazy exclusive access to my Discord community, which is one of the most beautiful and perfect places in the world, especially now, where we talk about fashion, our personal wardrobes, about the runways, where we have talks, where we invite business professionals, sometimes where we interview designers. There are more designer interviews coming that I did during Fashion Week. So much content, and I think it's a beautiful space for people that really want to learn more about fashion, exchange about fashion with peers from all ages, from all places all over the world. I really think it's a crazy unique place that is actually meant for unicorns and rainbows and positivity and all these things, because I'm in charge of that. And if there are no rainbows in what you're saying, we don't want that. So join via the link below if you want to be part of the Discord community. More stuff is coming up soon that I cannot release right now, but there is stuff coming. So join the Patreon if you do like this. If you do like this persona here. So going and starting with my first thing, and I'm going to start chronologically to what I saw during Fashion Week. I was sitting at the Stein show. By the way, Stein is definitely a brand you should check out. It's a Japanese brand. I think it was the first runway ever in Paris. It was really exciting, beautiful silhouettes, beautiful fabrics, and I don't want to support every time the cliches that we're having, but I have not yet been disappointed by a Japanese designer in Paris. So they have the best fabrics and it's really beautiful work. I think if you are into this a bit more relaxed but still sophisticated fit, which is like tailoring inspired, Stein is a beautiful brand. But one thing that I realized and saw there and that I just loved, and actually it's just a little effect probably made by the stylist backstage, is putting and stuffing your pants into your socks. This is so hilarious to me because it's just giving me flashbacks of how I've been running around when my mom calls me to go downstairs to pick the groceries from the car, or in the winter during school time when I was waking up and was just like, no way I'm taking off my pajamas. You know this feeling when your pajamas, when you have like this flannel pajama and you're just like, this is so superior, I need to keep it on. Nobody will get that I'm wearing pajamas under my pants. And you just keep them. And that's the way your socks usually look like when you try to keep the warmth inside. This was ages before heat tech, okay? This was years before heat tech, and it was keeping us warm. I really love the styling because I think the new silhouette that we have a lot in women's wear currently, which is this Aladdin shape, by the way. I heard that men's hate it, but probably we don't hate it here. We're full of love and, energy. So we don't hate anything here, right? If you do like this Aladdin silhouette, but it's too strong for you, like because you're like too manly and your testosterone level doesn't allow you to wear this shape, you might just tuck in a tiny bit of your pants when they're oversized, so they don't have to be tapered below. They shouldn't be because you need the volume. So you have this tiny sock pulling up on it. It's an immediate silhouette shift. I think it gives you a bit also like South Asian inspiration immediately. You know, I don't know. We had a lot of Indian inspiration, by the way, but I'm going to talk about this still. So now that I talked about socks, let's stay down there. And one thing we saw at every single fashion show, Louis Vuitton, Aurelie, driesvannoten, Kiko, like I just mentioned it earlier. Whatever you like to call it, in whatever country you are, flip-flops, Havaianas, thongs, anything you like. Like we saw tons of them for men's. And honestly, I really enjoy the freedom of toes and feet, especially. So honestly, it's not that I'm, you know, the biggest advocate of menswear constantly, but I usually think it's so mean to call out men for like, hey, you shouldn't show your toes, you're a guy, like you should just wear like slides or Birkenstocks or whatever. Like what the hell? Everybody has fine feet. I hate the hate against feet. Like it's okay to hate an organ or a body part sometimes. Like I'm not going to pretend that everything is amazing constantly. We can feel anger towards things, but overall we love our body because it works. So let's be grateful. But feet, come on, they have the hardest job. Like did your foot ever disappoint you? And then you say like you look ugly? Come on, like I hate this attitude. I'm so happy we see more sandals for men. Like obviously, you know, keep the hygiene straight. Like it's okay to go to a pedicure as well, now that we're talking about the prospering femininity in menswear. So you can, you know, you can do little adjustments, but overall it's really nice. I do love a flip-flop. I'm wearing it and I'm not going to deny it. It's the Scandis that brought this out, I think in 2017. I don't know, I feel like it's been 8 years or something. I'm wearing these thongs that are never, and I'm not going to pretend it, they're never crazy comfortable, never as comfortable as a normal slide would, but it's just a beautiful juxtaposition of like oversized pants, something that drops on it, you know, this little drop of your pant, which is so relevant, by the way. People really do not see really the importance of how your pants fit. I think I can dedicate a whole video to how your pants are supposed to fit to create a beautiful silhouette. But like just this drop on a sandal, it's so funny also in Paris, nobody wears flip-flops. People feel that it's something disgusting and doesn't belong to a city because it's dirty around. Obviously it's dirty, but you can go into the most beautiful tiny village and your feet will get dirty. Maybe a bit less bacteria, but that's it. I don't care. Like I'm a person that washes their feet. You know, I get home and I wash my feet and then the problem is kind of solved. It's a beautiful silhouette. I think it is interesting, especially I do love it in the autumn. I'm that girl that loves to wear flip-flops with a cashmere, with a wool pant, and then bam, flip-flops. Nobody expects this. Let's irritate people again, especially as men's, and wear flip-flops. I think it's a beautiful trend. It elevates every look. It makes every look a bit more sporty and casual and still elegant, because I think it's one of the most elegant sandal shapes that do not look like they're from, I don't know, that you stole them from your dad, because as much as we love our dads, like, they usually don't know what kind of sandals to wear. So I think this is a trend that was super strong. Next big thing that is kind of staying in fashion for a long time now, at least 1.5 years, I would say. And it does come from the shift of streetwear to sportswear, in my opinion, is the addiction of menswear with Anoraks. We saw Anoraks, raincoats, all these kind of things, all these tech wear inspired jackets, and also a bit heritage inspired jackets, because a lot of collections also look like they're using inspiration like from the 40s and 50s and even like World War fashion, if we can call it like this. Stuff that is coming from the 20s and 30s, a bit more military inspired. So we have the a bit more militarian looks, a bit more utilitarian, functionality oriented ones. And then we have the more cute college 60s, 70s, American college core aesthetic, maybe private school aesthetic as well, if I may add that to it. And we've seen that at Hedmina. Hedmina had beautiful ones. I also showed it in my stories. It was really interesting. By the way, you can follow me on Instagram if you want to be crazy up to date on what I'm sharing constantly, because I'm so active there. But they had like huge ones, which reminded me a bit about the ones that I bought at Uniqlo. But it looked a bit like beekeeper jackets, because they were so long, but the fabric was so thin, which made it so beautiful. And I think, since I'm a big advocate for outerwear and think it's super relevant because it's something that builds a beautiful silhouette usually around your look, I think these super thin anoraks, even though if you're sometimes thinking like, when am I supposed to wear this? It's so thin, I can just wear a sweater. Like there's no moment in life where the super thin anorak jacket will save you. Usually there's not. It just looks good. To be very honest, there's really no moment except for rain, and you don't usually want to have the water repellent ones because they immediately turn a bit more stiff, except for it's a waxed one, but I haven't seen waxed ones, whatever. It's a beautiful shape. I do like the sporty appeal of it and a bit the heritage focused one as well. There are tons of brands bringing them out. I think it's a jacket silhouette that we can definitely keep on our radar, and if you do find one for a good price, you catch it and you keep it forever. I do like the drawstrings, I like the many pockets that they have, I like a good hood. The colors are endless, you can take whatever you like. I've seen them at Orally, at Headminer, crack green. By the way, I don't know why not everybody is screaming way more the name out, crack green. It's one of the most amazing menswear collections ever. I do understand the ambivalence because you do not really have so many wearable pieces in the collections, and the retail collection sometimes looks a bit different. But if you want to get inspired by color and shape, I think crack green is the most exotic and interesting name overall in menswear. And if you are especially a bit into this design-focused perspective that is clearly having more look on like construction and like, I don't know, it reminds me also a lot of Nicolas Ghesquière Balenciaga era. You will love crack green, so have a look at that. He has also beautiful jackets, is also famous for his outerwear. So a good anorak jacket will absolutely be a good deal. Next thing I personally love, and I've been searching for this item for almost 2 years now, but I cannot find one for the perfect price point because this girl is a searcher. I'm an archaeologist when it comes to having a good price on a good piece, no matter how old it is. I'm speaking about shoes with fringes. And I think it's so funny because fringes were associated for so long with like being a bit old school and not fashionable, and only, I mean, not the most fashion-forward brands were using like fringes on their shoes anymore. I think Minnetonka was the last one like 15 years ago where it was acceptable, and everything afterwards looked like Isabelle Marant. And you don't want to look like Isabelle Marant, I guess, if you subscribe to this channel. So what was interesting though is I think 2 years ago I saw these Tots loafers that I'm obsessed with. They're amazing. The current creative director of Tots is also doing such an amazing job, and I'm really happy he stays there. Unlike the Bali designer Simone Bellotti that had to leave to Gisanda, which is great, but don't check out current Bali. Don't check out how the first collection after Simone Bellotti left the brand looks like, because it's insanely terrible. Like, it's a disgrace to what he has been building up there. It's crazy. I don't want to know what in the top management minds or whoever is responsible for this happened, but whatever. We're talking not about Bali anymore. We're talking about these boat shoe inspired shoes that also have these fringes on top of them. I saw them at Wales Bonner and I was on the floor. They are really pretty and beautiful. She also had amazing colors, these suede colors. I think there were also like tiny studs and stuff on them. I don't exactly have it on my mind anymore. And the ratio of fringe to shoe was really fine. You know, it was not like, it didn't feel like a fringe shoe, but it really felt like, oh, that's an interesting little add-on to the shoe that, you know, it also adds a bit movement to the shoe, which I think is interesting because it doesn't create sound, and just like a very subtle form of movement to a shoe that can also elevate it a bit more. If you wear like shorts and a t-shirt on top of them but have interesting shoes, then deal is done. Deal is done, it's sealed, it's a great look, and you're good for summer. So I think men really should focus also more. Men, I'm speaking about you in third person because you haven't introduced yourself yet. Introduce yourself in the comments so I can call you up by your name. I think men really need to improve a bit the summer shoe game, because I think a lot of men are a bit trapped between the Timberlands, like open loafers that like every brand does, and then the sneaker. But there are like tons of different versions and they come out now. I mean, we've seen it at Wales Bonner. Crack Green had it too. Crack Green is I think even a bit more extravagant. Wales Bonner, of course, always has this a bit more sophisticated tailoring inspired approach. So the shoes also looked accordingly. To me, it had also a bit of the 60s inspiration with the fabrics being used, and Crack Green was definitely a bit more experimental, but why not go wild if you dare to? Coming to my favorite accessory, and I'm so happy that all these things I'm mentioning almost are tiny things, like little attachments, almost accessories that can quickly improve how you look, because it's so easy and it might also not be so expensive at the end. One thing we saw, and this has been something that was definitely increasing in women's wear, because of course because there was just a bit more experimentation going on throughout the years, was white belts. And I talked about this in my last menswear video where I talked about like big belts, which we saw at Prada and also Kiko. And this time they evolved into their next Pokemon status and they turned into cummerbunds. Cummerbunds are obviously inspired by the smoking nature of a suit. Beautiful accessories. I remember when my dad had to buy once in his life a smoking because my sister just randomly decided to marry. Yes, that's what people did 10 years ago. He had a smoking and I tried to wear his cummerbund and I found it was so beautiful. And 10 years ago, people were making a lot of fun of me as per usual. You know, that's the life you have as a trendsetter. It's so hard. The next thing I saw, which is something we have left from last season because they were everywhere. And apparently I was actually kind of surprised to still see them. But I think it's fine. I think it's good and that's why I put it on my list. It's Fisherman sandals. I think a lot of men maybe feel a bit more comfortable wearing Fisherman sandals because it's still a bit hideous. Like you can still hide your feet if you want to because you have this cage rib on top of your feet. I think it's a beautiful silhouette. To be very honest, I'm not so sure if they're so comfortable. I think you can wear it also with socks. I think it's pretty cute. But I was a bit surprised to see that Dior, since these Fisherman sandals have been going on at Louisville like for the last 2 years. But I also felt like that's such a Jonathan signature, so maybe that's why he implemented that, or maybe that's what he was just allowed to do at Dior when it comes to men's sandals, because that's what they do. So I think if you don't dare yet to go all the way into Hawaiianas or just don't feel like they're comfortable, because that's also what a lot of people say about thongs, like they're just not everything that splits your toes is comfortable, which I absolutely get. I have that issue also sometimes. I think Fisherman sandals are still a great deal. They're literally this hybrid of half shoe, half sandal, because it still usually like has this tiny belt adjustment on top of it. So it does feel like a shoe, normal shoe, but it is actually a sandal because you have some air conditioning in them, which is great. So I think Fisherman sandals can stay. I was happy to see them pop up again. I think it's good to see some products not die immediately after a year. So I think Fisherman sandals are something you can get in high and low. I think every brand does them now. Not every brand does good ones. I will have some options down below. By the way, you should also check my website where I recommend products if you're interested in stuff like this. Next thing I saw, which I think is so amazing and probably one of my favorite silhouettes of Fashion Week overall, is a pant shape, and it was Jodhpur's. I said earlier we had so much South Asian influences throughout the collections. We saw it at Louis Vuitton, we saw it at Kartik Research, obviously. So many shows this season showed Indian inspiration, and it's beautiful because we are not aware of it. Like a lot of people, outside of fashion anyway, but like even in fashion, are not aware that all these embellishments, embroideries, so much handcraft is coming from India. And it's beautiful, like Dior does once. I mean, honestly, Maria Grazia did a show in India, and to be honest, at least she showed like respect to the country and gave it visibility as well, because showcasing where the craft really comes from and the handwork. Like Dior now, even the Dior collection, I don't know if it was just the techniques or if it was made in India, but the techniques on this 200K code that everybody talks about, which is honestly so boring, I'm sorry, was an Indian technique. So it was beautiful to see that India was also visibly being shown a bit more during this fashion week, and that, yeah, I mean, it was clearly resemblancing like the culture and all these things. Just having this new type of short that is bringing you comfort, but also this beautiful silhouette and the draping that it comes naturally with. We also saw it at Junya Watanabe in a way more sporty form. I think it had this very thick cotton fabric, but you saw it from the back. It looked like a baggy pants, so it was definitely the more casual and street appropriate version, but you saw a new pant shape. And I think if you do dare to go into the shorts direction anyway, you can try to find a brand like the ones mentioned that really bring out something with a strong cultural appeal, but also just like a fashionable, beautiful silhouette to it that can really improve the way you dress. I think you can wear it like with a very basic classic shirt. I don't think I would wear it with a t-shirt probably, but like, and then you just have this beautiful elevated look with the draping that is atypical and interesting. So Jodhpur's was definitely something I haven't seen in a very long time. I know avant-garde brands have the tendency to use it a bit more, but I was really happy to see it also at Lemaire. Then the next thing we saw, it is not so complicated, but it might be a bit more daring. And I think it's interesting, especially for people that are trying to wear a skirt every now and then. And I'm not going to say skirt because honestly, I gave up to talk about like men should wear skirts. And I understand that it's a big step. I personally don't even like wearing skirts so much. Like, who likes thighs touching each other? Nobody likes that. Everybody wants to wear shorts. Shorts are the superior skirts. Skirts just look prettier, I think. Not even always. But what we saw a lot, and it's kind of, you can see it as an elongated cummerbund maybe, was a lot of pareos. Like pareos like you have, you know, the ones on the beach that you see on the girls that are like trying to... I'm not a huge pareos fan actually. Usually I just wear shorts over my bathing suit. But I absolutely get the appeal. And it was so beautifully made again at driesvannoten. I feel like in this video I'm completely referencing driesvannoten only, but we saw a lot of styling and also product innovations definitely at driesvannoten. So there were these beautiful suits and pants, and it was literally like wool pants, and then you had these very long silk fabrics on top of them, and they were like knotted like a pareo, and I think it was just beautiful. I think it's interesting. Again, it has absolutely the South Asian inspiration in it, and I mean, I think it's what we can learn definitely concerning menswear is having a look at countries that have a warmer climate, because men need to dress accordingly. And I think in Europe and in the US we're just so used to wearing all these typical fabrics like cotton and I don't know, linen is like the most extreme we can go, and then we just have the t-shirt silhouette and pant and short silhouette. And if you look at these, like if you look at Saudi Arabia where men wear like long dresses, if you look at India where people wear also these pareos, for example, it's really interesting what kind of inspiration you can get, and maybe it's not so easy to implement it into your lifestyle, into your work environment and all these things, but tiny inspirations work. And I think if you have a nice blazer, a beautiful pant, and you pull out a fabric over it, it will do the work and it will be beautiful, and it's a completely new shift, and it has a completely different energy if you just wrap it around your waist. And I think that's an interesting play with, I would say, femininity, because initially this is something for me that I've only seen on women around me. I think it's a beautiful way of challenging a bit your typical menswear standards. So that was something really beautiful that I really like to see. When it comes to shoes, one silhouette is really interesting, and it's funny because I've always loved it as a teenager and people never got it when we went bowling into like the bowling club with my friends. It's like bowling inspired shoes, bowling baseball inspired shoes. Obviously Wearswanna had new silhouettes that were so beautiful. She's dropping a new collaboration with Y3, which is very interesting. There were also these silhouettes at Zoma. Zoma has like a bicolor version. It's a collaboration with a shoe designer, I think, which is very interesting, and it's super fun. It's beautiful. I think it's an interesting new silhouette for a shoe if you do not want to go for the typical. I mean, I think nobody speaks about Zambas anymore, but now it's the Spezial, it's the Japan silhouette, and all these other collaborations. I know Wearswanna is also a collaboration, but the Zoma ones are really interesting and it's a bit atypical. So if you do have a bit this Marni-esque, colorful aesthetic anyway, I think it really is interesting. It was a bit funny because Kenzo dropped like the same shoes at Zoma, just like with plateaus and stuff, and it looked a bit ripped off because Zoma launched them already last year. But yeah, I think it's a beautiful silhouette. I've seen it like from like contemporary brands already, like I don't know, Vagabond, and everybody's doing it already. So you can also find it, of course, of like non-designer versions of this shoe, but I really think it's an interesting silhouette. I like the old school vibes of it. I love that it has always been a so uncool shoe and is striking back now. I just like the shape of the shoe and the fact that it's a bit unusual, and I think probably what I like most about it is just the fact that it's ugly. And if you're kind of over the flat sneaker trend, which is kind of not dying, because driesvannoten's show with the best-selling flat sneaker of the season, I would say, was still full of them, and now we're receiving the high top version as well, which was also pretty interesting. The high top version was really beautiful, to be honest, and also the canvas version, but have fun getting into canvas high top shoes, whatever. I think this bowling shape is really pretty and can be something that you can implement into your wardrobe. I don't think it will turn into a bestseller. I don't want to say I don't hope for it to be, because I do want, of course, all brands to win, but I don't think it will be the ruling style in fashion next season. So you can maybe have a look at that. And the last thing I want to talk about, the last thing that was pretty striking to me when it came to the silhouette, goes a bit hand in hand with the baseball shoes maybe as well. were the handbags, because there was such a strong bowling bag inspiration, especially like vintage bowling bag inspiration. We saw it at Prada, where we saw it last season already for men's in January, and we saw it again. So it's something that is repeating itself. These ones were a bit more vintage inspired, I would say, a bit smaller at Prada. We also saw them at driesvannoten. It felt a bit like they were supposed to depict the shoe design a bit on the back. They were a bit more elongated and a bit more, the width was a bit smaller. So it was an interesting shape. I don't know how practical they are, but I feel like these half travel bags have a big comeback for menswear. I don't know where you're going all with these bags. I feel like women's bags also are like outrageously big, and I don't know where all these, like, where are you going with this bag? Like, are you doing groceries with like an expensive, beautiful handbag? You're not. I know you're wearing your tote, so that was interesting. But I do really loved it to see like a menswear appropriate handbag, even though it's almost a travel bag, which had this vintage baseball appeal. I'm sure you can find them vintage secondhand as well. I know that handbags are like the least interesting thing for menswear. To be honest, I don't like carrying a handbag as well, so I absolutely feel you. And it doesn't look like it can be a like crossbody bag with that size, but it's a beautiful silhouette, and I think it will remain because we are really stuck in this happy 70s flair, which I don't mind currently. I really enjoy it. I think we see it a lot in these vintage tricots like of the 70s coming up, the raglan shirts we saw at Arali. Like, there was a lot of like faith and hope throughout the collections. We had so many colors. I mean, you have seen them at this point. So much thing that even though there's nothing to be happy about or to be wishful for anymore, kind of, it did feel like there's a tiny bit of hope if we just try to be more positive in these times, even though we have like currently no reason to, and there's so much suffering. And I mean, I don't try to politicalize the collections because I think it is something completely different, because I do think that a lot of political statements made by brands are also just marketing statements for the brand, but that's a different topic. Overall, it was giving faithful energy, the menswear season. I really enjoyed it. It's actually not over today. This will be uploaded on Sunday, so we will have the Celine collection coming with the first michaelrider creative director collection menswear for Celine. I'm so curious. I'm so curious. So we're going to talk about that on the Discord. Maybe, yeah, we want to actually do a review night where we talk about all the collections. So if you do want to talk about the upcoming shows and the ones we've just talked about in more detail on a live talk, or have a community supporting you, talking about your clothes and also what you ate sometimes. There's a lot of food content lately going on. But about all these things that you cannot share with your best friend, because your best friend is actually a happy and person that is interested into sports and outdoor activities, you might just come into the Discord community, because that's where I spend all my dark hours. Join the Discord, join the Patreon to have access to the Discord. I hope you liked this video. See you next week. Ciao.